I haven't been making YouTube videos for a long time, but in my time, I've taken a look at a lot of handhelds, and I've learned a little bit of everything from each handheld. Each handheld is unique and they have their own features, and I think something that stands out the most is getting the basics right is probably one of the most integral parts of a good handheld. And so many devices are not particularly good at nailing the basics. And sometimes it's the community who picks up the slack with custom firmware to fix some of those issues, or sometimes you just get a device that just doesn't feel right in the hands. And there are very few devices out there that I can say pretty much cover all your bases. Most of these devices out there have some issue, some gnawing thing that just makes it really annoying and makes you want to buy the next thing that comes out. And that's annoying for a lot of people. But a handheld that's pretty much stood the test of time, that still gets mentioned to this day, and has seen very little to light revisions to this point, is the Miyoo Mini. I haven't personally taken a look at the Miyoo Mini yet in any long-term capacity, and that wasn't until friend of the channel, MechDIY, reached out and wanted to send me one of their handhelds, and I decided to take a look at the Miyoo Mini version 4, which is pretty much the original Miyoo Mini, the smaller version that everybody was like talking all about on TikTok and stuff like that. So it's pretty much the original Miyoo Mini, but it's the Miyoo Mini version 4, but it's functionally the old one. Prelude aside, I've got a chance to take the Miyoo Mini version 4, and it's a pretty darn good, compelling handheld. It isn't the most powerful thing out there, maxing out at PS1 and Nintendo DS emulation, and even still, that can be pretty hit or miss in most of the PS1 library. Isn't going to be that fun to play on this handheld, just due to the lack of analog sticks and having the vertical mounted triggers, which some people might like, but I personally find it kind of annoying. But this device has a great deal of customizability that we haven't really seen on a bunch of these other handhelds. There are a ton of community-made tools and operating systems for you to try out on this thing. And I've talked about how Anbernic devices tend to get better when they have a ton of community support behind them. Custom firmwares, all that stuff makes their handhelds some of the best. And not necessarily because Anbernic is the best company that makes handhelds, it's just that the community loves to tinker around with them. And the Miyoo Mini is no exception. That rule applies to the Miyoo Mini quite well. It's thanks to the community in the continuous development from the audience and consumers of this device that it's become one of the best handhelds out there. Custom firmwares like Onion OS is pretty much popular and a mainstay in the community. Most people who buy this don't even use the base firmware. The version I received came pre-packaged with Onion OS. There are official handhelds being sold that don't even use the original firmware. I'm using a custom theme that was pre-installed on this device, but I ended up filing through all of the custom themes that they had, and none of them particularly stood out, so I stuck with the one that I liked the best, which is this really nice Game Boy style theme. There's a color version, but the classic neon green to me was the most appealing and very nostalgic and vintage. The version I received also came with inside a carrying case, charging cable, instruction manual. Pretty much that's it. Nothing special, nothing frou-frou-y about this, just the handheld, charging cable, and a case. That's it. Pretty much to the point. I can appreciate that. It has your standard button layout, ABXYs, D-pad, start and select, triggers, which are horizontally mounted, which aren't my favorite, but as I mentioned before, I can live with it, especially if I'm not really playing 3D titles. And I mentioned this thing is capable of playing Nintendo DS games, and that is true, but they run quite bad. I'm not a huge fan of playing DS games on this thing. As you can tell from the footage, that it's not a particularly great experience, especially considering how small this screen is, being even smaller than the 3.5 inches found on Miyoo Mini Plus and the Anbernic RG35XX, which is another one of the most popular handhelds for tiny on-the-go gaming. And this is just on the edge of playability. I don't have particularly large hands. I have an assortment of other handhelds here to line this thing up against, and it's small. This thing can be kind of hard to play for more than an hour or two. And that's fine, but If you're looking for a dedicated all-day emulation device, I would look elsewhere because this isn't the most comfortable thing long term. But if all you're looking for is a device to throw in your pocket or throw in your gym bag just to play a little something on your commute, it's actually pretty much perfect for those purposes. Standby battery life is pretty good. I've never had an instance where I expected it to be charged and attempting to wake it up from sleep would be a problem because it'd be dead. But that's never happened to me on this device. I've consistently been able to ensure that this thing had a constant battery life, and unlike the TrimUI Smart Pro, this pretty much accepts all charging cables that I had. For some reason, the TrimUI just really was picky with what cables it used. Overall performance on all the other emulators is pretty good. I was able to transfer my save from Pokemon Sky on the TrimUI Smart Pro over to the Miyoo Mini V4, which was annoying but painless. It was just I had to connect both microSD cards to my computer and move the file over. It was annoying, but you know what isn't annoying? This segue to our sponsor, Ugreen. It's Black Friday, so you know what that means. Ugreen wants to show off all their amazing deals for the Ugreen Nexode 25,000 mAh battery. Supports up to 145 watt charging with USB PD 3.1 and quick charging 3.0 to deliver an astounding 145 watts of total power, all through a single USB-C cable. But that's not all. This battery bank can also simultaneously charge 3 devices all at once. You can charge your Steam Deck, your laptop, and your emulation handheld all at once, with a convenient screen on the side to display how much capacity you have left. You can even charge the battery bank while charging other devices in just 2 hours with a 65 watt brick. The next Black Friday deal Ugreen wants to show off is the Ugreen Nexode 100 watt GAN charger. The Ugreen 100 watt charger is capable of charging a single device over 100 watts of power, but you can connect up to 4 devices all at once. With its gallium nitride design, it is incredibly small and compact, being the most convenient way to charge all your devices all at once on the go. On top of its convenient size, it's able to charge up a MacBook Pro all the way up to 55% in just 30 minutes. Thank you, Ugreen. If you are interested in any of the deals mentioned here, go down in the description and they will be the first 2 links down below. Let's jump right back into the video. There is a reason why the Miyoo Mini is probably hands down one of the most popular, most viral emulation handhelds we have seen so far. And that's just because it's so darn convenient. The size just makes it rather adorable. Never thought I would describe a handheld as adorable, but I guess that's where we are now. But that just goes to show how small and convenient this thing is. It's winter now, so we have pretty large pockets thanks to jackets and sweaters and whatnot, but when the summer hits and I can't necessarily bring the TrimUI Smart Pro in my coat pocket, this is definitely the thing that's going to be in my pocket. I love how small and portable this thing is. It's not the most powerful thing in the world, and that is unfortunate. It claims to be able to do up to PSP and PS1 games, but that's just not happening with this chipset. But I'll tell you this screen is probably one of my favorite screens I've ever seen on an emulation handheld. It is so pixel perfect at 640 by 480 at a 4:3 aspect ratio. It is probably one of the best ways you can play games from the Super Nintendo, NES, Genesis generation of systems. It is a little more annoying to play games like the Game Boy Advance, but I can live with the letterboxing, and the slight pillar boxing found in some Game Boy original games is also livable while just mildly inconvenient. Unless you want to zoom or stretch, which personally I'm not that into, especially when the screen is so small. Those letterboxing and pillar boxing is just not that much noticeable. Now that I've shared my thoughts about the design, the performance, is it a good value? Assuming you get the same exact model I had, that makes this device close to $80. And that to me is a pretty tough pill to swallow, especially when you can get something like the TrimUI Smart Pro. That is an incredibly great value and will offer you an overall much better gaming experience for 3D titles. But if all you're looking for is a very small, very portable, great way to play your favorite classic systems that are 2D only, I would say go for it. If you get it with just the game console, no extra SD card full of games or anything like that, it is just 60 bucks. And with the 20% off coupon code for Black Friday MechDIY is doing, you can get it for as low as $45, $50-ish. And I think at that price point, this becomes a no-brainer. I wouldn't even think about getting some of these for nephews and friends and stuff. People who just come over who would just play some games or distract the kids for a little bit in a car ride. I genuinely think this is an amazing device. I would love to hear what you guys think. Are you interested in at all about this device? Has it been too long? Has it gotten old for you? I would love to hear what you guys think down below. Thanks again, Ugreen, for sponsoring this video. And last but not least, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.